Has life in America been forever changed by the coronavirus? And if so, how? Now, that was a question I posed to Senator James Lankford in part two of our Skype interview, which began with this question. What are the respective roles of the federal and state governments in addressing the COVID-19 pandemic, and how are they performing?
All response is local, whether it is a fire that happens with local fire department, whether it is a tornado that happens that you've got law enforcement and firefighters and the governor and county officials engaging. This is a national issue, but ultimately the success is going to be won on the ground by local officials. So mayors, governors, county officials are exceptionally important to be able to make good decisions for what's happening in their region. What we can have is a blanket across the entire country, treat the North Slope of Alaska the same as we are with New York City. And there are some folks that are saying we should have blanket responses for the whole country. That's not true for the whole country. This is a very different experience, whether you're in Burns Flat, Oklahoma, or whether you're in central Oklahoma City. So we've got to be able to figure out how to be able to do this reasonably. We also have to have a situation where we've got to have people moving and still doing business to be able to maintain. Our conversation happening right now is because there are still folks that are managing electricity, they're managing Wi-Fi systems, they're managing different telecommunication systems. We need those folks. If something happens in your house with plumbing, we want plumbers to make sure they're also listed as essential. We want grocery store and truck drivers. So there's got to be some commercial traffic. So this push to say a total lockdown is the only way to get there, I think people aren't thinking through what that really means. That means children's food is not being delivered to their home because there are lots of kids that only eat meals at their school. We want to make sure there's also food that gets to those places. So we need some flexibility in the process, but we also need some people to have some common sense.
Just two more questions for you. This is a COVID-related question, but it involves some of your colleagues in the Senate, including Senator Inhofe. They came under heavy criticism for selling some stocks, large amounts of stocks or mutual funds, just prior to the COVID pandemic becoming a huge story internationally. Are you comfortable with their explanations, or do you believe that needs further investigation?
So the challenge I'm going to have on this is I'm actually the chairman of the Senate Ethics Committee, so I'm not making any comments at all about it. It's been a long-standing tradition in the ethics. We don't even verify if an investigation is ongoing. We give details when everything is done in the process. And so as chairman of the Ethics Committee and the responsibility that I have for all 100 senators in the Senate for ethics issues, I'm just staying away from any kind of comment at all related to that.
Okay, thank you, sir. And one final question for you. In your opinion, Senator Lankford, is life in America going to be changed forever following this pandemic? Or a couple of months from now, are we going to be going back and doing things just the way we did before?
No, I think life in America has changed forever in many ways. One of them is just-in-time deliveries for things, because they knew they could order it and get it there overnight if they ever need it in advance. Well, that's proved not to be true with all the supply breakdown and the number of people that are looking for this nationwide. And so people's inventories and how they're going to manage that, how they're going to manage what happens in their own house and what they save up. The famous run on toilet paper, it's even become an issue. It just shows how people supply or are dependent on it. So I think people will think a little bit differently about how they prepare for emergencies in the future. I think we'll also have a big shift in business. We found that we were very dependent on China for a lot of our products. And when China immediately said those personal protective devices that are manufactured in China, we're not going to allow to leave China because we're going to make sure they have to stay here, even if they're an American company shipping it. It gave us a quick heads up. Hey, this really is a communist government, that they'll just take on anything that they want to take on for their own benefit. We've got to be able to look at our supply chains for medicines, for protective equipment, for critical minerals, all those things, knowing that if we have another disaster, we can't be dependent on a communist government as our source for supply on that and assume it's going to work the same.